I see Assemblywoman Seawright is on, but let's wait just a little bit before we start. Robert, why don't you give your opening statement? You're muted. There you
Sorry
go.
about that.
There you go.
Welcome. If this is your first time joining us, everyone will remain muted throughout the meeting except the committee co-chairs Sherry and Anthony and the presenters. Following the presentation, co-chairs will call members of the public who wish to speak. You can participate by going to the reactions icon, pressing the raise hand, not the wave or the thumbs up. Only press it once. If you press it a second time, your hand will go back down. If you're on the phone, it is *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute. Please be on the lookout for a prompt asking you to confirm unmuting once the co-chair is calling you. The chat is for technical support only. To help with Zoom software problems, not to ask questions of the co-chairs. They will not see these chats. If you have an older version of Zoom, you will need to go to the participants section where you'll find the raise hand feature there. Please do not raise your actual hand or wave at the screen because we may not be able to see you. Chat me, I'm here for support.
Great, thank you. All right, I think we'll start and other people will join in as needed. I'm Sherry Weiner. I'm co-chair of Community Board 8's Voting Reform Task Force. And we have taken upon us the responsibility of coordinating the community's response to various redistricting proposals. We just finished doing the city council proposal where we were successful in changing the proposed redistricting from which was going to move parts of the Upper East Side, Sutton Place and Roosevelt Island over to a city council district in Queens. And lo and behold, now that they're doing assembly redistricting, they're come up with the same kind of arrangement. I see we're very fortunate to have with us Assemblywoman Rebecca Seawright, whose district will be affected by this change. So why don't we ask the assembly member to bring us up to date, let us know what she thinks is going on, and then we'll move forward. Assembly member.
Thank you, Sherry. I was trying to unmute when I came on a little while ago, just to say hello quickly before the meeting started. But so thank you for inviting me tonight. I see Joyce Chardon at her Roosevelt Island meeting on this topic. As you know, the commissioners of New York's redistricting panel voted to advance a new proposed map for the Assembly legislative boundaries. And I'm very disappointed that the proposal for our Assembly District 76 would eliminate Roosevelt Island and redistrict it into a Queens Assembly District. I'm committed to fighting alongside all of my constituents to keep Roosevelt Island where it belongs in this district. Roosevelt Islanders were so powerful, along with all of you, in your testimony on the New York City Council redistricting process. I believe together we can make an unequivocally strong argument to keep Manhattan's Roosevelt Island with our Manhattan Assembly District. I have a meeting this week in Albany with the Speaker and his lawyers, and the Speaker has told us not to worry, that he works very closely with the Republicans, unlike the Senate did not. And originally the Assembly wasn't part of that lawsuit that was filed in Steuben County because the Republicans in the Assembly were satisfied with the lines that were ultimately drawn by the Assembly. They were consulted, and so I have to trust the leadership of the Assembly that if we're not pleased with what's presented in terms of process. February 7th is the hearing at the Danny K. Playhouse at Hunter College, and I encourage everyone to attend and to testify, and if you can't, to submit your comments in writing. Unfortunately, I will be in Albany in session that day. I'm on the Ways and Means hearing. Not only will we be voting in the chamber, but we'll be having our budget hearings, which start on Monday, February 6th. If the once the commission has submitted by April 28th, 2023 is the deadline to the legislature. If it fails, the commission has 15 days to present new maps, but no later than June 16th. I again encourage all of you to show up on February 7th at the Danny K. Playhouse on 68th Street in Lexington. I will be submitting my testimony ahead of time, but I am confident that we will ultimately, because the majority controls the assembly, that we will end up with lines with Roosevelt Island back in the district. When I was consulted the last time, I let the speaker know that it was very important for Roosevelt Island to stay in this district, and it did. And I think ultimately we will prevail, but I think it's very important for all of you to speak up and to testify and to submit your written remarks. I want to pass on a separate bit of good news. My Equal Rights Amendment passed this week on Tuesday in Albany, 50th anniversary of Roe v. Wade. The Republican minorities called abortion murder and screamed and hollered during the debate, but the Democrats, I'm really proud of my colleagues and the speaker for advancing the bill and bringing it to the floor for a vote and debate so quickly and early in the legislative session. I have Jacob Platel representing me also on this Zoom tonight. I have to jump off for another meeting, but Jacob will be with you. And it's great to see so many friends and all of you this evening.
Assembly member, do you know anything about Sutton Place? You've been talking about Roosevelt Island. Is there any talk about the Upper East Side staying in Manhattan? Because that's certainly as important to us also.
I haven't, you mean Sutton Place being zoned?
From 61st Street down, they want to take that over to Queens also. Same thing they were doing with the city council. So we would urge you to speak, even though that's not your district, I know it's Alex's, but we would urge you to speak to whoever to know that we want to keep Sutton Place in Manhattan.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Alex will be given an opportunity to have a sit down one-on-one with the speaker sooner rather than later, just like I'm doing this coming week. And I'm sure that he will express his strong desires to keep it in Manhattan. I can't imagine that would go through. But then again, like what happened with our congressional lines, you can't take anything for granted. And that's why I appreciate what you did on the city council and ask for your support in keeping Roosevelt Island in this district as we move forward.
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you for jumping on. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Great to see everyone.
Thank you. Is anybody here from Assemblyman Alex Boris's office? He had a meeting, he couldn't come on, but he thought he might have somebody from his office. Is anybody from Assemblyman Boris's office? Okay, if I don't see anybody identifying. As I said, the purpose of this meeting of the Voting Reform Task Force of Community Board A is to coordinate and activate people in opposition to the Assembly proposed districting. I'm trying to get a sense of what groups are represented. How should we do this, Robert? Ask people to raise their hands if you're representing a group. Robert, how do you want to do that? I know Joyce Short is here from Roosevelt Island.
What?
Chris Collins, who's here from, Chris is here from Sutton Place. Judy Schneider is I forget what streets, what neighborhood do you do? Judy, 72nd,
We're the East 60s Neighborhood Association.
East 60s? Oh,
Our association is being taken to Queens, as I understand it.
yeah, up to 61st. Yes, your group is there. All right. So
Sherry, let me ask you a question that I asked Chris earlier today. We had some emails. So the initial map that was sent out that shows it going all the way up the east side of York Avenue is incorrect. It's now only up
the
to
second,
61st Street.
it's from 60 blocks between East 42nd and East 61st Street, east of 2nd Avenue is
Well,
what information. I
Then
have.
that definitely involves the East 60s.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Sutton Place.
And we're
And-
hoping other groups, I mean, Elaine Walsh is here and she's 86th Street. So we have,
Okay, so I spent a lot of time speaking with the hospitals because the original map showed us going up York Avenue and told them they would be involved. But now,
well, they are east of 2nd Avenue. So yeah, they're involved.
no, but going up how far? It stops at 61st, you're saying?
Yeah.
Well, the hospitals go up into 70th Street. HSS is on 70th Street between York and the river.
Okay.
And New York Presbyterian is at what, 68th Street? Or 67th Street, 68th Street. So how far up is that original map where it shows it going up the east side? Is that correct? Does it involve the hospital?
Can you unmute Chris Collins? Because I know he's been pursuing this. Robert, can you
Yep, give me 1 second.
okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Hi, Judy. I
Hi.
apologize for, weeks ago, I sent out a map that I got from the Independent Redistricting Commission's website. And if any of you have tried to deal with that website, you will probably agree with me that it leaves a lot to be desired. They had a plan A, they had a plan B, they had maps that you couldn't read. I spoke with folks from Citizens Union who were very helpful, and they put me in touch with a website called Redistricting and You, which had, it was a good resource and it gave us better maps. But the bottom line is, just because I had an inaccurate map, I probably sent Judy and Esna on a bit of a wild goose chase, going to the institutions and unnecessarily alarming them that they were going to be changed to a different assembly district. Yesterday, with the assistance of my friend Letty Simon from Community Board 6, Letty texted Alex Borres to confirm where he thought the lines were. And since he's the assemblyman, we were assuming that he would know that fact pretty well. And he confirmed that it only went north to 61st. So that's my understanding at this point in time. So having said all that, it doesn't hurt to have people from outside the proposed
Oh, sure. Yes.
districts, you know, to offer support for our position of keeping the Manhattan portions and Roosevelt Island in Manhattan Assembly districts.
Well, Chris, we still have two institutions that are affected even by that change.
That's
And that
correct.
would be Rockefeller and the Schwartzman Animal Medical Center would
Right.
also be affected
Smith.
by that. But I'm glad to know that at least I'll reach back to the institutions and tell them we still need their support, the ones that are not affected, and I'll bring them up to date. I won't leave them with inaccurate information.
Thank you.
Well, I'm thinking while Cornell has facilities on 59th Street, so even
Yeah,
though
but
it's not,
Sherry, while Cornell is not, they didn't take a position the last time, and I've been pretty well told they're following it, but they won't take a position this time.
no, I'm thinking that there may be other hospitals that have offices, doctors' offices that go down below 60. So even though the actual hospital may still be in the old district, they may have doctors' offices and other facilities that are affected. I would think. I just know the Weill Cornell because I go there. But
Sherry, can I just add one legal
Sure.
point that I think you and a lot of the other folks on this meeting will appreciate, which is the fact that the legal process that we are dealing with for the assembly is different than what we dealt with the council.
yes,
Okay. Bottom line is that in this situation, the state assembly has the legal authority to basically, at the end of the process, draw their own lines.
yeah,
The city council could not have done that when we fought
right.
the battle last summer. And so it was very heartening to hear Assembly Member Seawright say what she had to say today. It gives me some level of comfort that our East Side Assembly members are not that terribly alarmed about this, that they think that they can go to the speaker and get this worked out appropriately. I certainly hope that's the case.
Yeah, this new map would take effect in 2024. And just very briefly, I wanted to say this in the beginning. How we got to this state is that last June, the state courts found the assembly district maps that the legislature approved to be unconstitutional and ordered them to be redrawn for 2024. In September, the court ruled that the Independent Redistricting Commission, which is the one that screwed us over with the congressional redistricting, would be the body to do the redistricting for the assembly. So that's how, and then as the assemblywoman said, they have till April 28th. So if you look at the time frame, our public testimony is on February 7th. And then after that, they have more hearings February 8th, 15th, and 16th. So what my plan is that after we have our conversation here, I'm going to propose a resolution that can be approved at the next community board meeting, and the community board members, we have a whole bunch on the call, we'll take a vote, and then we'll have it, the whole full community board vote on it on February 15th, and we still have time for it to be effective. So why don't we hear from some of the groups and what they're doing? I know Joy Short. First of all, Lynn, who's a community board member, is quite ill, and she had really spearheaded the Roosevelt Island group the last time we did this, and unfortunately, she's not able to do that. But we have a great substitute, Joy Short, and could you please unmute Joyce so she can tell us what Roosevelt Island has been doing?
I'm unmuted. Okay. Yeah, I wanted to point out that Weill Cornell's staff is housed on Roosevelt Island.
No, that's what I said. There may be, I know Weill Cornell was not going to take a position, but everybody is affected by this. I mean, all the medical community, and I wouldn't, we can't say the specific hospitals, but we can certainly say medical facilities are affected. Go ahead, Joyce. What have you been doing with your group?
I'm doing the same thing that I did the last time. We're galvanizing the community and making sure that everybody has their voices and they're dressed in their Roosevelt Island red, and we're going to do.
You're going to do with banners.
I drew the plan the last time, and so now I don't have to reinvent the wheel.
No, that's the beauty of this. When we talk about sending letters out, most of you have your letters that you send for the city council. Just change city council to assembly and you basically could use the letter. Judy Schneider was good enough to do labels. There are 10 commissioners. You can send your what I did was send a letter to each of the commissioners, though you can just send one letter to the chairman, depending on what you do. But it's really just as easy to, put in "Dear Commissioner," and then all you have to do is address it to the individual commissioner. And if you need the labels, let us know. You can let the community board know, and we'll send out Judy Schneider's email she was good enough. And that made it so much easy. All you do is print out the label, stick it on an envelope, and you're good.
Yeah, the last time we actually had about 20 people that signed 15 letters because there were 15 people on the commission.
Yeah, we only have 10 now. Yeah, no, we told. Well, Joyce, why don't you tell that story about what you heard about our communications with the commissioner the last time.
So as I was walking out of the hearing the last time, all of our letters came through me because I was CC'd on everything. And so as I was walking out the door of the hearing, a fellow stopped me as I'm walking into the lobby to leave. And he said, "You're Joyce Short, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah." And he introduced himself. He was the person on the commission that actually read the comments. And when he introduced himself, I thought to myself, "Uh-oh, what did I do wrong?" And he said, "No, on the contrary, Roosevelt Island actually sent in more comments than any other area of the city of New York. Sutton Place and Roosevelt Island actually sent in more comments than the entire city of New York put together." So, folks, we did it once before. We can do it again.
We can do it again.
Sutton Place and Roosevelt Island, we're the key.
Okay, who else we have? Elaine Walsh, do you want to talk about what you're doing with your group? Robert, can you unmute Elaine Walsh, please?
I'm not seeing Elaine on the.
Oh, she was. Okay, maybe jumped off. All right, let's go. Let's do Michelle Beerbam. She has her hand up.
Yeah, thanks, Sherry. I just have a few questions that maybe you can clarify. With the issue of the first redistricting, the rationale given to us was that we had to even the populations in the districts, and that was the reason it was being redistricted, because we had too much population in one and we could afford to have another. And anyway, we maneuvered and we manipulated, and that came out all right, but it did because the population was moved and we ended up meeting the criteria that they set forth as legal requirements to have that district. So my question is, what is the legal rationale, if there is one, for this? If there is no legal rationale, what is the rationale? In other words, why are they doing this?
It's the same thing. It's redistricting. The ideal number is 134,000. Will just gave me that number, and you can only have a 5% deviation. So the process is the same. Redistricting, the point is to have, you want every district to be equal.
Okay.
So I don't have the I was asking Will, he didn't have it either. I don't have the population numbers like we had. The gentleman who helped us the last time, Dan Kaminsky, is no longer with Citizens Union. So he kind of left us on our own to fend. So,
but when they did that, that's what I wasn't clear of, is if the population issue is the issue, yes, and if that's the same,
yes,
then why isn't the solution the same?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, we all could not believe that here a redistricting was just rejected based on all the criteria. The criteria is a little different with the assembly, but not much. I mean, why would they come back and do the same exact thing over again? We don't know.
Well,
But
maybe that was just spit out as a thing, like they're doing it, so they're doing it. But the reason I'm asking this question is, number one, to understand what their criteria is here and why they're doing this. And then to say, if they are, let's, and I'm sure we have it, a copy of the solution. And they were satisfied with the solution, and let's advocate for that solution.
well, the assembly districts and assembly districts are not, they can't interchange them. The population isn't the same.
Well, that's what I'm asking. So what are we asking for? In other words, when it's not enough to just send in our old letters, which says we don't want these changes. My recollection is when, in addition to that, in testimony, if not in letters, but in the Zoom testimonies they were hybrid, by the way. I don't know if this one is going to be, that we actually told them what we thought could happen. So do we have enough information on this? Well, shouldn't that be a first step, like to get the information so that we can say, well, if you do this and then you do this, problem solved, or we're on board with this, or you don't have to, you know what I mean?
If you recall, the last time Will was able to put an alternative, I just spoke to him. He is not able to do that. He said Russell was trying. I don't know if Russell, do you want to add anything, or can we get up with an alternative map? Can you mute?
I've been kind of playing around with a map online. I think basically what we should do, I'm not sure if we'll have a map by the end of this meeting specifically to propose, but I think what we'll want to do is sort of, in addition to the map that we had, we also had kind of written guidance, which was to say, essentially we want to keep, here are the areas that we want to kind of keep together. Here's how we would like you to sort of do the different, and the thing with all of this is you have some districts that are too small that have to get bigger, and some districts that are too big that have to get smaller. And basically, if you add area in one area, you sort of shift everything, in the direction that you're adding it. And then the other, district has to sort of shift down and whatever. And so I think basically what we want to do is provide guidance in the sense of saying, when you're shifting these things around, shift our district this way, don't shift it that way, and keep these areas together. So for example, in the 73rd Assembly District, you could say, well, once you get below 60th Street or whatever it is,
61st.
Shift the district east, don't shift it west, right? To keep these areas on the east side, contiguous with us. And, instead of, for example, splitting up the neighborhood of Carnegie Hill, which they have a tendency to do, which is really kind of one area, why don't you shift us a little bit north, and then, we could sort of lose more area kind of to the south. I think in terms of just sort of what makes sense, and those are just sort of examples. I think that's basically what we're going to want to do, is just sort of, and that's essentially what we had said last time with regard to, if you want to sort of analogize the 4th Council District with the 73rd Assembly District, and sort of the 5th Council District with the 76th Assembly District, it's, they're not exact. And as Sherry said, the Assembly Districts ultimately are a little smaller. But I think, broadly speaking, that's sort of what we're looking at. And if we were to do that, essentially, I think we want to do the same kind of thing that we did with those districts.
So Russell, do you think you're going to have something? What I'm planning to do is to revise. I don't know if you were on when I said, have this group vote for a resolution, and I'll revise, the last one in conjunction with you. But we also had in our resolution, we had recommended, new ways to do this. Do you think we're going to be able to put something together? Maybe you can coerce Will to be a little bit more proactive on this, since he's familiar with the software. And maybe
I think it's, I mean, the software is, you know, the software is sort of, you know, not necessarily that difficult to use. The trick is just, I mean, I'll keep playing around with it. I think I almost have something like potentially, you know, map that we could suggest, and maybe later I'll just try and share my screen and show you guys.
And maybe we should say, you know, why not base the assembly on, look at what happened in the city council and refer them to that, as Michelle said, and say, why don't you do something similar to what the city council did? That, you know, might be a good.
Yeah. But I think ultimately we want to do both. I mean, I think if we can have a map that we can suggest, I think that's a very helpful and useful thing. And it's a sort of constructive thing that we can do. At the same time, I think just sort of expressing what our kind of preferences are is useful as well, because, you know, basically when you're shifting things around and you're drawing a map, you know, you're potentially going to sort of create impacts in other areas that aren't necessarily what you're trying to do, and you know, that kind of thing. But you know, you just want to make it clear that you know, this is what we're sort of aiming to do, and it's not our intention necessarily to have these other ancillary effects. And frankly, we don't care if they try and rectify whatever sort of ancillary things are. But anyway, that's sort of I think we'll want to do both.
Sherry, can I just follow up with a question about the hospitals?
Yeah.
I know Judy said that New York Hospital is not responsive. In fact, they have their big spine care unit is on 59, but or not that they're not responsive, but they're not going to join in. But I just wanted to ask Judy a question. By singling out Cornell and saying they took no position, but does that mean that others did? Did Sloan Kettering?
Yeah, no, other hospitals, I'm talking to them, are willing to take positions, but they, Dan Polay of Weill Cornell specifically said they'll listen to everything, they'll look at everything, but they, Weill Cornell, will not. It doesn't mean that the people Joyce referred to who work for Weill Cornell or who live on Roosevelt Island, they can write their letters or send their emails.
No, all the individuals can, but I just wondered if by singling out them but
no, well,
but
he's the one that told me today that
okay, but you think, but Memorial Sloan Kettering, you think will be on board? How about Rockefeller?
I'm waiting to talk to Tim. We've had some emails back and forth. I think MSK is looking at it, even though the first map didn't involve them as much, but does involve, when you talk about their ancillary buildings, it involves that new building on 61st Street they just bought last week, and New York Hospital, I'm waiting to hear back from them.
They have a unit on 59th Street, their spine care unit. And
also HSS seemed, they wrote the last time, they probably will be inclined to be supportive this time. While I'm talking, I just have a question, and maybe Sherry or Bob can answer this. Is this meeting that they're having on the 7th, is this only in person, or is it also, can you attend and speak by Zoom?
Gee, I just signed up today.
The last one was a hybrid.
Hybrid. It is a hybrid, because you had a choice. You had a choice, were you going to appear in person or were you going to?
Now, we haven't seen that website, Sherry. Can you send, I haven't seen that. Can you send that?
Go to their website. You have to go to the New York.
Can you send those of us on this call the link?
It's just New York State Independent Redistricting
Commission. Just, Google it and you'll come right to the page. And then you go to where it says meetings. And then you say, it asks you, there's a prompt, do you want to appear? Do you want to do virtually? And you sign up. And then they send you a confirmation. So today's the first time it worked. I've been trying to do it, but I signed up today do it.
But
So
I think if you really want to get all the people from Roosevelt Island and from Sutton Place and everybody else, we ought to at least get that link up on the community board website.
yeah,
Not everybody's going to go through these machinations.
we can certainly do that. I'd say, Erica, you have your hand up. Can you unmute Erica Burson, please?
Yep. Sherry, you want me to pull up the maps too? I can pull them up on the screen.
That
What
would
do you
be
want to put?
great.
Maps?
Yeah, I can pull up the maps from the Independent Redistricting Commission on the web on my screen.
That would be great.
And I just put the meetings link in the chat.
Okay.
Okay. And Erica should be unmuted now.
Hey, Shari, thanks.
Hi.
So the last redistricting was both in person and virtual. So
Yeah.
I testified at 2 virtual meetings. And I know people went in person to testify as
Yes.
well. So I'm glad to see that they're keeping, the virtual option available as well still, because that's inclusive. In terms of the hospitals, I worked at Weill Cornell for several years, and I know leadership at many of the hospitals. They literally have offices all over the 5 boroughs. They rent from each other, they buy buildings, they rent back to other people, and they largely do what's best for them. So, they can say that they're writing letters. They may very well be, but if you're not seeing them, I wouldn't, it is what it is with the big hospitals. They do what's best for them and their tax base. So, I wouldn't kill yourself trying to get to them. If you get it in front of them, that's great, but they're going to do what they're going to do. And I know that for a fact because I know several people in senior leadership at the different places. But in terms of the letters, I sent mine out already and I repurposed the ones from the last, because it is the same. It's the same 2 or 3 issues. The proposal is not contiguous, which goes against the city and state, the city charter and the state constitution. It's the same issues. You can use the same letters.
Mm-hmm. Right. I'm just
there's no reason to overcomplicate what this is.
All they do is going to say if you're yes or no. That's all.
Yeah, and to Christoph's point, I was kind of surprised at Rebecca's. I didn't know that there was that nuance that the assembly can work with the speaker to do this. So I think that I would say that I'm now 90% confident that it will be resolved in a favorable fashion as a result.
But we do have to have public comment.
Absolutely.
To back it up. That we can't just leave it in their hands. We have to show,
right.
The public has to show. I'm looking at this map and I can see why you couldn't tell. It looks very like different. It looks like the line is going on. Where is this?
If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see the Queens. If you see down on the right, the bottom right corner, where it keeps going down.
Yeah, it's supposed to be part of an Astoria district, not Long Island City this time. They want to combine it just for your letters. It's the 36th Assembly District is now where they want to put Roosevelt Island and Sutton Place. It's now based in Astoria, represented by Democrat Cohan Mamani. And what I was reading was from an article in the Patch that says they want to shift the district westward, taking over Roosevelt Island and roughly 60 blocks between East 42nd and 61st Street, east of Second Avenue. But this doesn't look like it's Second Avenue. It's very confusing.
And that little dip
It looks
in the
like it's
middle
Third
is
Avenue in some
ridiculous.
spots.
Wow, it's really not clear. But I think they're going to get so many letters. All we really need to get across is that we oppose it, that
Yeah.
these neighborhoods should remain in Manhattan. And that's really all. I mean, we're not writing treatises here to the commissioners. They just need to know that the public is opposed to it. And I think I referenced in my letter that, you idiots, I didn't say that. This was just rejected, when the city council redistricting tried it. So why are you doing it again? And I think the idea, I like what Russell said, or Michelle said, that we should say, this was resolved in the city council redistricting. How about looking to see what they did and use that as a model for the assembly? I think that's a good thing. I think I'm going to put that in my testimony.
But I also think it could go, if this group tonight is going to do a resolution,
Yeah, we are going to do a resolution.
so that could go into it.
Yeah. All right, let me see.
Thank
Let's see who hasn't spoken. Danielle Brecker has not spoken.
Hi. So I'm actually the chairperson for Community Board 2 in Queens. So
Welcome.
So, hi. So I was the lead of the our redistricting task force that worked with this board on this council redistricting. And we're not so sure that we're going to take a position on this or not. We're trying to figure that out. That's part of why I'm here. And I just do want to say that the district, this map takes parts of two Queens Assembly districts, 37, what is now 37 and 36, and puts it in this new, this would be a new Assembly district. And it's sort of like half of Long Island City and like a third of Astoria. And we have concerns. I think our concerns for our community board are a little bit different. They're kind of on the other side because we now have like 5 assembly districts in CB2. But I just wanted to point that out. And we're just really interested in what you're putting forth because we're trying to figure out if we're going to put something forth or not. Thanks.
Well, from our city council that the Queens District City Council District didn't want us over there. I mean, they were very happy with their own diversity, and they felt if Manhattanites came over, they'd have too many white people, and they didn't want us. So we
had some concerns. We, as you probably know or remember, we have one hospital. Actually, we have no hospitals in the council district, and we have one hospital in the area. So we were very concerned that kind of funding that we would get for that for healthcare would just not exist because it would look like we had all this wealth.
All the hospitals, and yet they're over in Manhattan.
And there's many other issues. It's not to say at all that we don't want Manhattanites. Like, I would never want to say that. I lived in Manhattan for many years. But yeah, we have some concerns, but I do think in this case, our concerns are on the other side because it's crazy that one community board district has 5 assembly districts in it.
Wow.
Insane.
Wow. Well, we certainly would welcome your opposition to this plan. It certainly can't and hurt. I think you've heard, we're using the same arguments that we use in the city council district. It's the same issue, putting Manhattan.
One question I do have though, and I don't think it'll come to this, but I know the new Senate district that I'm in is parts of Manhattan, parts of Brooklyn, and parts of Queens. And that might be something that someone uses, to support this. I don't know if it's going to come to that, but I would point that out.
Okay, I haven't really looked at that. Well, but welcome to our meeting.
Thank you, Clara, and thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem. Let's see who hasn't spoken. Sharon Pope Marshall's hand is up. Robert, can you unmute her, please?
You should be unmuted now.
Sherry, can you hear me?
Yep, we can.
Oh, okay, thank you. First of all, I wanted to mention that I am wearing another hat, and that's the hat that I normally wear as a community board member, but for this conversation as the executive director of Civitas. And the board of Civitas has indeed taken the position that we feel that Roosevelt Island and also Sutton Place should remain a part of Manhattan. The Manhattan Assembly, the Manhattan District, Assembly District, or City Council District, or well, whatever else is going to come next. I have testified and also encouraged Civitas's membership base and constituency to support our neighbors on Roosevelt Island and also on Sutton Place.
Great. Well, thank you.
And
you get credit for being a community board 8 member, and you can vote on the resolution. So you put your other hat back on. I see hands up.
When do you think we'll have the resolution?
The resolution will be part of the minutes for the February meeting. And it will be modeled on the resolution we passed opposing city council. We're just going to, modify it for this. So it'll be done and it'll be in the packet for February 15th meeting. Okay.
Thank you.
Rita Papa. Robert, Rita, please unmute.
Hi.
Hey, go ahead, Rita, you can speak.
Thanks for having this meeting. I'm a fairly good map reader. I got all over this country by reading maps. I can't read this map. I don't know where Knickerbocker Plaza belongs, because we're 91st Street between.
You're not affected at all by this.
Between 91 and 92 on 2nd Avenue, because the next block right here is 90th Street.
Rita, you're not affected at all by this particular issue going to Queens. It only goes up to 61st Street.
Okay.
You're not affected at all.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Let's see. Russell wants to talk again. Russell? Robert, please unmute Russell.
All right, so I have a sort of draft of a potential map that we can sort of take a look at. I mean, but what I would say is, for purposes of tonight, I would say let's hold off on including specific, and if I can share my screen, I'll show you guys what I came up with. But I think that I would say, first of all, we should hold off on making a specific map recommendation in the resolution tonight.
Right. No, we're going to do, we'll do a draft one. Yeah. Subject to you and I and whoever else wants to get involved resolving it.
And the reason I think for doing that is, I mean, first of all, we'll want to sort of think about it more. But the other thing is, I think we'll really want to coordinate with our assembly members, because they're going to have a much better sense of what's doable. And I think basically they're on board with us in terms of what our concerns are. And so for that reason, let me move my Zoom thing out of the way. Can you guys see it?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think basically, we should essentially coordinate any kind of specific map recommendations with them, because I think they'll have a better sense of what we can get and what the sort of red lines are with respect to other districts and so on. So I think that's one point, but this is just sort of an example that I think more or less it's sort of similar to what the current districts are. So what you're looking at here, The black lines are the proposed district from the districting commission. The colors are new maps. On the side, you can see the population for each map. The ideal population is 134,000. You're allowed to vary it, as I understand, I guess, 5%, right? In either direction. So I think one of the other takeaways just from having now engaged in this exercise is, you know, basically Manhattan is sort of bursting at the seams from an assembly district perspective. And essentially, if you're going to have 12 assembly districts that are entirely Manhattan assembly districts, they all have to be big. And what I think we'll want to include in our resolution is a sort of recognition of that fact and an acceptance of that fact. And I think we'll want to be specific. You know, ordinarily, I think it's considered sort of disadvantageous to have a larger district because each individual person in the district has sort of less weight and you know, relative to a smaller district. However, I think we should say, look, you know, in the interest of being in an entirely Manhattan district, you know, we in Community Board 8, and I suspect other people in Manhattan would feel the same way, you know, we're sort of willing to tolerate being in a district that's at the very high end population-wise, if it means that we can keep, you know, Manhattan together in Manhattan districts. So I think that's another point that we'll want to express. And just, you know, basically in terms of sort of the specifics, you know, so relative to what the redistricting commission did, you know, the 76th Assembly District, you know, you're talking about basically adding Roosevelt Island back in, and, you know, you have to sort of shrink it in other places if you're going to do that to make the population work out. And again, sort of the specifics of how we would want to do that, I think you want to check ultimately with Rebecca on and sort of coordinate with her. And then the sort of 73rd Assembly District looks a lot more like it does now, where it sort of comes down and shifts east instead of their proposal where it was going to kind of go west.
Go west, right.
Yeah, and so that necessitates sort of shifting some other things around. And so you've got some of these other areas up, you know, in Upper Manhattan kind of shifting further south, and then there are corresponding shifts. And then you kind of want to keep Hell's Kitchen together as much as possible. So you sort of have to be careful what you're doing in this area. And, you know, this is all my kind of back of the envelope, essentially, version of this. But anyway, so it sort of, I guess, can be done in terms of what we're generally proposing, the idea of kind of shifting east rather than shifting west. But again, it just sort of necessitates having larger districts. So I think we just want to acknowledge that and be clear we're okay with that.
Okay. All right, good. No, so certainly, well, we're just going to approve like we've done the last time. We're going to approve a draft resolution and a draft map, and then we'll refine it, you know, before the final vote by the board. Okay, let me see who else wants to. Oh, Chris, do you want to speak again? I'm trying to keep track. Can you please yeah, Chris, you're unmuted.
Okay, great. Just two very quick points. I support what Russell just said. I think that Board 8, and I say this as a former Board 8 chair from ages ago, that you need to coordinate this with the existing assembly members because of the point I made before, that the assembly in this case can draw their own lines. So I don't think your voting task force needs to give a specific recommendation on where the line should be. But I think if you speak to Rebecca and to Alex, you'll get a really good idea of what's a sensible, fair approach to take. Second point I wanted to make is that if this 36th Assembly District, as proposed, is created, it's an open seat. Assembly member Mamdani from Queens doesn't live in the district, neither does Alex Porras. For those of you who are like political junkies, like I am, that creates all sorts of interesting questions. But I just wanted to point that out because creating an open seat can have serious political implications in any neighborhood. I'm done. Thank you.
New District 36. Okay, no incumbent. Okay, let's run through. I'm going to go through the list again. Joyce Short, did you want to speak again? Okay, you're unmuted.
Okay, a few things. Number one, Danielle, I wanted to mention a couple of things that we discovered in the last go round having to do with the impacts on your district. And I think the most difficult to cope with would have to do with the additional income from a standpoint of per capita income that would definitely impact you. In the last go round, we determined that the additional per capita income for your district would be raised by about $40,000 per person. That could affect your schooling, it could affect your affordable housing, and certainly including hospitals that you can't actually get to, your folks can't actually get to, but they would be included in your district. That also would have a negative impact on your district. So there's more than simply the hospital issue. There's also an affordable housing issue and an issue having to do with getting things for school children and services for school children. Another thing I wanted to cover, people were talking about whether they could make Zoom testimony. I sat through the entire hearing twice, actually, last time around. And I can tell you that a lot of people that wanted to come in by Zoom did not get in. So if you really want to be if you really want to say something and you want it to be heard, I would wholeheartedly encourage you to get there in person because a lot of the Zoom people, the technology was flawed and they weren't able to speak. I need to know, we have somebody that has a very high profile position at Rockefeller that lives here on Roosevelt Island. Is Rockefeller in or out? Okay. Is Rockefeller in the district? Is it going to Queens or is it staying?
No, Judy said it is in the going to Queens, right, Judy? What, can you unmute Judy, please?
Rockefeller goes from, well, it starts at 63rd and goes up, but then they have the piece of their housing that goes down to 63rd, 62nd. Where is that line? Is that line at 61st?
61, we think.
Okay, well then if it's 61, Rockefeller isn't in it, but I still will continue to try to get Tim O'Connor, the vice president, on the phone tomorrow and ask them to write a letter of support. They did write a letter the last time.
Yeah, good. I'm not actually done. Can I get the microphone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
Okay.
still on me.
Yep. Please do, and please get back to me with that information because I'll get somebody else on it who lives here on Roosevelt Island. Certainly, separating their housing from their facility is the separation of a community of interest. So that's something that the Rockefeller people could certainly make use of. Russell, I'm 100% a solutions person, and I believe that a picture speaks 1,000 words. That it's absolutely essential that we have some kind of presentation of a map that makes sense. And it would be best if we can get it at least 1 week in advance so that our people can start putting in their comments, including that map. So I would appreciate you doing everything that can be done so that we get whatever.
Get it before the 7th? Yeah, okay.
At least a week in advance.
Okay.
Want everybody to know we have a standard letter on my website. I'm happy to give you the URL for it. People can use it. It's got the statutory, the things that are statutorily wrong with this, that they're doing things against their own, against the laws of New York. And also I wanted to point out to people that the office of the assembly member currently is at the very north end of the district. So for Sutton Place people, that creates a very, very difficult circumstance to actually go to the district office and get help should they need it. So look up the address. I think it's way up on the north end past Ditmars. And that's another issue that you can bring up in your letters, that the difficulty, particularly for senior folks to be able to get up to the district office would create a burden on senior and disabled folks. That's all I got.
Okay, I think Danielle may want to comment on Joyce's statement. So let's let Danielle speak.
Thank you. So I chair the redistricting task force for CB2. So I'm aware of all the many issues related to the council district. I just used hospitals as an example because that is probably the most pressing one in the council district. Frankly, this is a little bit different because really there's not much of CB2 actually in this new assembly district. It's kind of like where I live in Long Island City, and that's about it. And this Long Island City is a much higher income part of the area. So it would be a little bit different than council. So that's why I say that the CB2 in Queens is looking more at the other side of the district, because we have other issues that we're facing with this. I'm not sure for us, this particular assembly district is so much of the problem for us. But we're going to look at it. And the other thing I would point out too, I don't know who made the point, but this would be an open seat. Like this does have, political ramifications.
Yeah. In this district, 36 would be an open seat.
So I'm in 36 now, but Zoran is my assembly member. He would become 35 and yeah. And then 37, which is what we were before this year, it shifts weirdly to the middle of Queens. And so it would literally be it would be an open seat. And I think that means that we might have additional assembly seats. I'm not sure how that works. We might have lost a seat upstate, but it does have, huge political ramifications.
Okay, I'm looking at the resolution we did the last time. In addition to hospitals, we talked about schools, and I need help from people. We say numerous public schools, including PS 158, PS 217, and Eleanor Roosevelt High School are located in the area. Can somebody let me know, are those affected? Does anybody?
No, they're not affected in this area. They're all in Rebecca's district.
Okay, so take that out. All right, that's what I'm trying to, make it adjust. All right, who do we got? Michelle wants to speak again. Michelle, can you?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, those schools are in the 70s.
Okay.
And this is now going to 61st Street. So they're not affected.
And let me just wait. And then Hunter College isn't affected because it's
that's 68th Street.
Yeah, okay, that's out too. All right, I'm just trying to clean up the resolution. Okay.
I don't know. Well, Hunter had a property down in the 20s. Did they sell it? Do they still have that property?
No, this is the thing when we talked about the bridge, that one campus would be in one city council. So it just comes out of the resolution. That's okay.
Okay. Right, because this is no longer in it. Okay. No, what I wanted to say is while we were talking, I went on to the website to try to sign up for the session. And while I found it and I found the meeting and I even found the little prompt to say, click here to sign up, it's not functioning. So, and it doesn't look like a link. What it is a rectangular box that's outlined that says some encouraging you to sign up for the meeting. The implication is that you should click that box, but that is not functioning. Did you find something else on that site? Because Sharon, I think it's really important. If you want a good showing, we have to make it really, really easy for people to sign up to go.
I had tried several times and couldn't get it to work, and it worked today. So I don't know.
Well, 5 minutes ago it didn't. So
yeah, I did it this afternoon. So I don't know.
Is that what you saw though? Did you see that rectangular box with a
where it's
encouraging you to click it? Yeah, okay.
It did prompt you. So try it again tomorrow and see.
I'll keep trying, but that is too difficult.
No,
do you know what I mean? In other words, for you're trying to get masses of people to sign up, and this is going to be too much of an effort.
Yeah.
So I don't know how we could solve that, but let's put it this way. We'll try. I'll try as well.
That's good.
You know, but I wouldn't mind. Joyce, did you offer the form of your letter?
Yeah, I think.
Can you?
Joyce,
I would
yeah.
like to see that if I could. So I don't know how you.
Joyce, didn't you say your letter was focused on Roosevelt Island and we need a more generic? Chris.
No, but she
Collins
did
sent
say
out-
that she did say that she mentioned the bullets. In other words, that the concerns were the same.
Oh, Joyce.
The statutory things are the same. So you can use those statutory things and then, you know, put in what other additional language you feel is appropriate for your circumstance.
Joyce, do you want to, how should we do this? Do you want to give?
I can put the link on, but I need to, I have to be able to download and look at
It's
it.
probably, rather than put the link in the chat, it would probably be best maybe if you emailed it to Sherry or the
I'll email it
district
to Sherry.
office, and then
No
they could
problem.
forward it to everybody, or at least I would like it. I don't know
Yeah,
how anybody else
okay,
feels, but that way it's just an email forward.
And
It's
then
probably
Chris
easier.
Collins had distributed a letter also earlier on.
Yeah. I wanted to make another comment, and that was to Danielle. Keep in mind that right now, you know, last time around, we had the Long Island City folks in the district that they were trying to put together. Right now, you have a bigger problem because you've got the NYCHA folks. Right next door to us is the largest NYCHA site in the entire city of New York. And so your per capita is going to be affected even to a greater extent than it was before. You know, so I think that you need to look back at the numbers for your per capita income and include, you know, the NYCHA portion of the district. And I think you're going to see that it's even greater problem than what you had before, not less of a problem.
Okay, Sharon Pope Marshall wants to speak again.
Thank you, Sherry. I'd like to propose a resolution, and to use Erica's words, I'd like to repurpose the city council resolution that passed the board and tweak it.
Yeah.
And tweak it so that it is appropriate for the assembly side versus the councilmatic side. And if it's seconded, I'd like to speak to the resolution.
All right, I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. We've been down this road once. We'll go down this road again, and we were successful once and we'll be successful again. And I very much appreciate everyone's efforts to ensure that our community and neighborhoods remain intact. And I think that this resolution will do just that.
Okay, let's have, I guess, discussion on the motion to repurpose our city council resolution. Does anybody want to say anything, or are we all kind of in agreement with what Sharon?
Sherry, Michelle has her hand up.
Michelle has her hand up. Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Michelle.
Yeah, I have to say, Sharon, no, sure. I mean, I agree with what you're saying, but I really did not think that that was going to be our approach. To have a resolution, to repurpose a resolution, I'm not sort of understanding that. I was hoping we would have a more affirmative statement from, as Sherry was putting together, and that would be the resolution.
Sherry is using, she's using the community board resolution as a guide. And
yes, but I understand, but my point is that I would like to vote on on the resolution that she comes up with. I don't want to vote on the resolution to repurpose a resolution. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? I think we're,
we never-
Well, yeah, no, I'm
is
just,
to come
yeah,
out,
no,
you
no,
know,
I totally understand. I'm just trying to move this process along actually
well,
as
that's what,
quickly
if
as
she has some
possible.
wording,
And
I'm happy to go along.
And so I think that it's not necessary to reinvent the wheel and actually start from the beginning. But I am open to whatever other recommendations and suggestions that board members have. But that is the resolution, and I'm going to leave it as is. If someone wants to call a question, and if
No,
it's
well-
voted down, then it's voted down.
Well, if Sherry, let me just suggest this, because we're all
Because
trying to-
Sherry did, she
we're all
did
trying to
second
come
it.
to yes. In other words, we're not opposing each other's point of view. We're just trying to come to yes, and the best way to do that.
Michelle,
So,
how
I was
about,
going to just let me finish my thought, Sherry, if I don't mind, and then then the call is yours. What I was going to suggest is that you propose your resolution and the wording that you want, and propose it now as a substitute resolution, if you so choose. But to vote on the resolution I won't support that with the current wording. I want a positive resolution, whether or not you're reiterating what we've said before, or if you're not. I just want whatever the wording is, whatever the wherefores are, that's what I want to vote on.
Michelle, I don't understand. We always do. We know the resolution is going to oppose the proposed redistricting. We always vote that way, and then we put together a resolution. And
That's
why?
fine, but that's not what Sharon is
Exactly.
proposing.
Yes, she
No,
is.
she's proposing a resolution to repurpose the resolution, and
No,
then we
no, no.
vote
Look,
on
look,
repurpose.
let me, Michelle, look. The
All right,
first line
clarify for
said-
me. I'm happy to listen. I
All right,
misunderstood
the first
maybe.
line of the resolution, the last one, the New York City Districting Commission is in the process of renewing city council district. So I have changed that to say the New York Independent Redistricting Commission is in the process of redrawing the
Exactly.
New York State. It's just changing it to make it
Exactly.
appropriate.
Yes, but that's what I wanted to
doing.
vote on. I wanted to vote on that wording.
Okay, you know
Oh,
what?
I
I
don't
think
have
that this is, I
But
think.
whatever.
I'll
leave it to
All
you.
right, so if this, yeah, all right, so.
But do you I just want, did you understand my
No,
point?
I think we're
Yeah.
splitting hairs just a tad bit. And so, Sherry, I am open to how you would like to move further with this.
I think your resolution was appropriate. We're taking
Yeah, I agree.
that
I
opposed city
agree.
council, and we're making it opposing assembly.
Exactly.
Michelle, why don't I send you a draft and I'd like your comments on it? How's that? I don't know.
That's fine, but the draft, either I'm not understanding what you're saying, or you're not maybe understanding what I'm saying, but we're both trying to get to that point. But I don't want the resolution to say we're repurposing the resolution.
Of
I
course
want to
not.
vote on the repurposed resolution. I think
It's
Judy
not go-
wants to weigh in here. Maybe she can Judy, if you're planning to clarify, I welcome. Welcome.
Yes, I agree with what Michelle is saying. We're not, if you have a resolution there, Sherry, with
Yeah.
the changes, would you please read it to all of us? That's what we're actually voting on. We're not
Right.
voting to repurpose. So could you
Exactly.
please just read the resolution with the changes that you've made to it at this point. And if anyone has any other modifications, then they'll tell you.
Sure. Okay. Whereas the Independent Districting Commission is in the process of redrawing the New York City State Assembly boundaries to reflect population and demographic changes. And whereas the commission is seeking public input into the redistricting process from different stakeholders, including community boards, and whereas New York Assembly District 73 and 76 overlap with the boundaries of Community Board 8 Manhattan. And whereas Community Board 8's Voting Reform Task Force has reviewed the new boundary lines proposed by the Commission for Assembly 73 and 76 and has concluded that the proposed lines do not comport with the Commission's own redistricting criteria. And whereas the Commission's proposal to add a portion of Manhattan and all of Roosevelt Island to a Queens-based assembly district violates, I think it's the state, it's the state, I have to check on that. It's the Constitution in the following ways. It fails to keep neighborhoods and communities intact, fails to keep the district impact, and it creates an oddly shaped crossover district. And okay, this one is about the numbers. I don't know the population. Whereas the eastern portion of the Upper East Side and Roosevelt Island have major differences with with District 36, such that the proposed combination may result in a significant diminution of municipal services to, amongst others, senior citizens and people with disabilities, which populate a large share of those areas. And whereas the practical difficulties of having two borough, Queens and Manhattan district cannot be ignored. And whereas the proposed lines would separate numerous the way we had it was medical and research facilities with sprawling, densely populated campuses from the neighborhood in which they have long resided and where most neighboring residents live. And whereas the areas being proposed to be moved to Assembly District 36 contain numerous parks and green areas, including, amongst others, the Esplanade and Andrew Haskell Green Park. I don't know, is that
That's
still
not there. That's not in it anymore.
Okay, how about the Esplanade? That's included. Yeah, that's in there.
Part of it, right.
Yeah, which are critically open areas for neighborhood, which would be separated from most of the neighborhood's residents who use them. All right, the school comes out, Hunter College comes out. Okay, there are several ongoing issues affecting the Upper East Side, including congestion pricing and the historic zoning in the neighborhood. And residents in the community would be disserviced by having a part of their community of interest combined with other neighborhoods in a different borough that do not share these issues. And whereas Roosevelt Island was created to be part of Manhattan and historically has always been considered and treated as part of the borough of Manhattan and should remain in Assembly District 76, almost done. Whereas self-identity is very important. Historically, all residents of the Upper East Side and Roosevelt Island have considered themselves to be Manhattanites. They have bought their residences with the expectation that they would be represented by a Manhattan Assembly member who would be locally accessible and would give their complaints and concerns priority and provide the necessary municipal services. And whereas two borough districts have existed in the past and have been comprised of neighborhoods that are contiguous, have similar demographics, and share similar public transportation, publication, and other services, while Manhattan and Queens area of proposed District 36 do not have these similarities. Therefore, be it resolved that the Community Board 8 of Manhattan disapproves of the Commission's proposed redistricting map, which moves approximately 60 blocks of the eastern side of the Upper East Side and Roosevelt Island to a Queen-based assembly district and strongly urges that these areas remain in a Manhattan-based assembly districts. And be it further resolved, and this is, then we go into the following redistricting lines. And as Russell said, we don't have that yet. But if we have that, that would be added as a further resolve.
I second that. That's the resolution.
So, first of all, it would have to be a substitute motion,
right,
to begin with.
Unless you wanted to withdraw.
And I have to agree to it.
No, you don't have to agree to a substitute motion.
Okay.
I'm sorry, ladies. I don't understand why Sharon's isn't exactly what we're proposing.
No, wait a minute. That's okay. That's okay, Sherry. It's okay. So what you were reading was actually the resolution that was passed on the councilmatic, for the councilmatic side. So you were reading that resolution and you were substituting.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm fine with that. So
you can withdraw your resolution.
Just 1 second. One second, Michelle, please. Thank you. Thank you. Sherry.
Yes.
I so that we can move this process forward, I'm happy to withdraw my resolution, knowing that what you just read was based on the resolution that we use for the city council level, and that the language in that resolution is going to be tweaked to reflect the assembly side of this. So I'm more than happy to withdraw my resolution.
I thought that's what your resolution said, Michelle.
Yes, I did as well, Sherry. But that's okay. It's no problem.
All right, Michelle, do you want to?
I would like to wait a minute. Just 1 second, Sherry. I would like to propose. I would like to offer a resolution that supports what you just read.
No, that's the resolution. What Sherry read is what we're voting on. I would like to call the question.
You want to call
but that resolution, but no one said, okay, so first of all, no one said that, no, when Sherry read it, she did not, she read, you know what,
Sharon,
Michelle,
I think this is your resolution.
I would ask Michelle propose. Can someone say a resolution has to be presented to the floor? I didn't hear anyone say that this resolution has been presented for a vote.
Judy did. Judy asked Sherry to read her resolution. And
she was reading
as a substitute resolution.
Help with this.
Okay. So then, how did it become a substitute resolution?
It's not when there was no
vote?
It's not. Sharon, sorry, if I may.
Okay,
you made a motion.
Please, Russell.
The motion was for us to pass a repurposed version of the council resolution that we did. Before voting on that.
Which I just heard.
Yeah, so that's what it is. So what Sherry was doing.
I want someone to say that this is a resolution and we can vote on it. I'd like to vote on it.
The resolution's on the floor. You put it on the floor. But I just think before we vote on it, there's a couple
okay. I understand.
What Sherry read is your resolution. It was just putting out the substantive points so people understand what it is that we're repurposing. I just think we just need a few tweaks.
Yes, 100%. Thank you, Russell, for your intervention there. Can we vote on it, please?
There's a few tweaks that I think we need, and it looks like Joyce maybe
has. Do we have to do that this evening?
Very briefly, I just am going to note Two things. First of all, I think you want to cut the reference to the Esplanade, because I think given that this is a much wider swath compared to the other one, I think the point about the Esplanade is not applicable. And similarly, I think we may want to sort of change references to the Upper East Side to be references to the East Side. I mean, this is all, we don't have to get too much into the weeds.
Okay, well, yeah, Russell, you and I are going to work on this.
Okay,
so I
sorry. So then one quick friendly amendment is the point I
Yeah.
made about, I think we should express that we are, which didn't need to be done during the council one, just express that we're comfortable with our assembly districts being on the large side for the reasons that I mentioned.
Yes,
In the
I
interest of
agree.
having all Manhattan districts.
Yes,
So that's a friendly amendment if you'll accept it. And then I guess. there's
yes,
some-
I will. Can I call a question?
Yeah. All right. Let's wait. Do people, I see a lot of hands up. Do people want to talk on this? Judy, or are we ready?
I think you got two hands and you may want to just.
Let's see. Well, Joyce, this is,
Okay,
it's just Judy.
I was unmuted first. Okay, Sherry. First
Yeah.
place, I think you need to leave Andrew Haswell Green in there and the Esplanade. We've been fighting for this since '06, Russell. And I think we don't have a lot of park space. And I don't know about whether District 36 has a lot of park space. It seems to me they don't from.
It's not that they're not important. It's that the substantive points we're making about it, to say that this map cuts off Andrew Haswell Green and the Esplanade from the communities that use them, I don't think is necessary, is really applicable
Is
to
important
this
to
map
some of
compared to the
ones.
other one.
Okay, all
Right?
right.
The other
then.
one was this like narrow spit of like one avenue up. This is a different situation.
Well,
All right. So
if the original map, Russell, was the correct map that Bob sent out, where it went all the way up York Avenue into Yorkville.
It doesn't.
Remember-
Not
No,
this
it
assembly
But
doesn't.
if that
No.
was correct, then
The assembly map
park-
is the one that's on the screen now. You can see it.
Okay, then the park issue would be a very important issue.
Sure.
So
Yes.
I will,
Yes.
I will
Okay.
retract my thought
all
on
right.
that.
So taking that whereas out. Okay. Anybody
Okay, I
else?
think the questions has been called.
All right. So
Joyce has one more comment if you want it.
go ahead, Joyce.
I think that this is very important for giving strength to the overall resolution, even though it's Roosevelt Island centric. But it really is a very important issue, and that is that the K2, K3, and middle school children, the vast majority of them attend school daily in the 76th Assembly District.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, people think that they go to PSIS 217, wrong. We only
I thought
have,
that was in the council resolution.
we only have 33 seats for the sixth grade, 33 seats for the seventh, and 33 for the eighth. In their K3 kids, there are only 15. So it would definitely be separating a very important community of interest. These are children going to school daily, some of them on Roosevelt Island, and some of them that would be in Queens, and some of them that would be in Manhattan. And they're all in District 2.
Joyce, can you send me something? Can you send me that language?
I will.
The whereas?
Yeah,
So,
but I do think
sorry,
that
I'll add
that's
that.
strength to the overall resolution.
Yeah, no, that's good. We didn't, no, thank you. All right, just send it to me so I get the numbers right. All right, I'm cool. The question has been called. Only Community Board 8 members can vote on the resolution. If you are opposing it, let's do it that way. If you're opposing it, raise your hand. I do not see anybody opposing it. So this will be presented to the full board on February 15th as a unanimous approval from the committee. Thank you. Okay. Does anybody else have anything that?
Sherry,
Yeah.
for the record, I just want to go through who's here that That way, in case we miss anyone, that way we
Oh.
have the count. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, go ahead. I wrote everybody down, but go ahead.
I just want to make sure. Sharon Pope
Yeah.
Marshall, Judy
Mhm.
Schneider, Barbara Rutter, Ed Hartzog, Michelle Birnbaum, Rita Popper, Russell Squire, and Sandrea Coleman.
Right, that's what I had.
Okay.
Right. It's only community board members that are there. All right. Sharon, do you have your hand up again? Or are you
Oh,
calling?
no, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll take it down. Thank you.
All right, everybody, we have our marching orders. Get your letters out. If you need samples, there was one that Chris Collins set out. Joyce has one, or just use your city council letter and just make it assembly. I hope to see many of you on February 7th at Hunter College, much easier than going up to Harlem this time. We don't need a bus. And let's do it, guys. And again, we'll be voting on this at our February 15th meeting. If anybody needs to reach me, my phone is 201-602-8830, or you can reach me through Community Board 8 office. But basically at this point, just everybody get as many letters as you can out opposing it. Michelle, you have a comment? Can you unmute Michelle, please?
Yeah, sorry, Chair, I have a question, and maybe Russell can answer it. Since the full board won't vote on this until after, the February 7th meeting, is there any way that this can go to the powers that be as a committee resolution?
No, but what Russell said, that since it's in the spirit of what we had approved before, we can still speak in terms of the board disapproving it. We just won't have the formal resolution.
Okay, but we're allowed to say that.
We can
that was
say
my
Community
point, to
Board
get
8
it in.
opposes it.
Okay.
We just won't have the formal I'm going to wait and since we have time, we'll wait and have the full board vote on the resolution and then handle it in the normal manner. But we can say the Community Board
disapproves it for the purposes of the February 7th meeting, because that's prior to our full board.
Yeah, right.
Okay,
Russell,
that's what I wanted to clarify.
That's right. You got it exactly right. It is so
Okay.
similar to
Yeah.
what we already passed as a full board. that I
Okay,
figured
fine.
we can do it.
Very
Okay.
good. Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn. Thank you,
Good
everybody.
job, Sherry.
so much.
Excellent job.
Get your letters out. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.